How is it even possible to be having these types of conversations with 5-year-olds? I mean, to me, this sounds, and maybe I'm being a little too hyperbolic, maybe I'm being a little too extra, as my kids say, but it sounds very groomer-ish. It sounds very like, these don't seem like conversations 5 years ago that society would have been okay with adults having with children. These are very sexual type conversations because it deals a lot with who you, I'm just going to say it. This is my opinion, but it deals a lot with who you have sex with.
Exactly.
and it I don't know, I could be extra sometimes. I can. I know that. But I don't understand how legally this is even possible.
There's several ways I want to answer this. Legally, it's possible, but simply by virtue. And I want to answer your question about legally, but I want to go a little bit deeper in terms of what I really believe is happening at a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
But from a legal perspective, it's happening in large part because parents either don't know it's happening,
Mm-hmm.
or parents have ceded their authority.
Mm.
There has been a slow encroachment on the authority of parents over the course of decades that we kind of just we were the frog in the water.
Right.
We dropped our kids off at school back at a time decades ago where we really didn't have a whole lot to worry about.
Yeah.
Little by little, things began to come into the schools, but we continued dropping our kids off, trusting.
Yep.
Until, like, one of our cases in here in Atlanta, until my client's 5-year-old daughter is sexually assaulted in the bathroom by a gender fluid child that was allowed to be there with her due to one of these policies.
My God.
She thought she was dropping her child off to a safe environment. Or, as the little Johns, they dropped their child off only to find, a secret meeting.
Yeah.
And we can go on. That is, so it's not happening under the blessing of the law. It is not. There's not legal authority for schools to be doing this.
Okay.
Just to be perfectly clear, parents, I want you to really listen carefully. You have, and particularly in Florida, throughout the country under the United States Constitution, but in Florida, your legislature and your governor has passed the Parents' Bill of Rights.
Right.
And in that law, it is explicitly enumerated that which already existed under the Constitution. And that is that parents have the sole right to direct the upbringing, education, religious training, medical decision-making, mental health decision-making, all decision-making concerning the well-being of a child. It rests in the hands of parents.
Yes.
And the government can only infringe upon that for a compelling reason where through the least restrictive means and where there is due process. So in a situation like what happened there, that does not qualify. They infringe on the rights.
So really quick, before you go into the deeper part of that, why did we need, if the Constitution already says this, why did we even need a parental bill of rights? Like, isn't this just a redundant policy?
Well, it's kind of like when you have, let's say you have an abusive husband, and he should already know that to assault another human being, right, is illegal. But when you have someone that is prone to cross boundaries, prone to take advantage, then unfortunately you then find yourself having to make it more explicit. Okay, if you didn't get it before, right, then
you're gonna learn today.
Yeah, exactly. Because then now let's make it absolutely clear in order to hopefully keep law-abiding people across, on their side of the line.
Yeah,
and I think,
yeah, I am so grateful for the parental bill of rights because
yes,
Lord only knows especially right now, it is such a great piece of legislation for such a time as this, if I can say it like that. But can you go? I wanted to hear the more deeper part that you were going to talk about.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Either one.
Let me just hit this, and then January, I'd love for you to follow in. Because we all were talking about language. January was really hitting on language, and it was so eloquent what she was saying. I hope parents really got it. What we're seeing is a co-opting of language to recreate reality. Okay,
so true.
Why is it that freedom of speech is such a powerful, is part of the First Amendment of the Constitution? Because when you control speech, you control reality. You control freedom.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, is that for children, they are progressively learning as they grow and develop, and as their brain hardens, their brain literally becomes rewired with development. They're learning what reality is. They're malleable. And I believe that there is an understanding in this agenda, is that if you can access children at an early enough age, while their brain is still soft and still malleable, you can implant and sow the seeds of thoughts that change the sense of what reality is, i.e., changing the very nature of the human species.
My God. You are so really quick, January. I know. I was reading papers from these people, the people who are in favor of the queer theory and the critical race theory. And that is exactly what they say. It is explicit. They want to raise a generation of activists. They want to tear down the heterosexual normatives. This is what they say. And they want to they say we should queer the children. Because when you queer the child, in their mind, you're going to be able to redefine or reimagine. You hear a lot of these words, redefine what reality is for them. And they want them to be this new generation of activists who are going to then take on the fight to continue to tear down the system. It's Marxism, it's communism, it's.
The problem is that see the challenge that that activists to this ideology have is that because they can't accomplish this through science and objective evidence, they have to accomplish it through language and manipulating of one's perception of reality. And again, the younger the child, the better the target from their perspective. The problem with that, and it's why I do what I do, is that it becomes so damaging to children, because when you divorce a child and you disconnect them from reality, you divorce them from things that keep them, that are necessary for their healthy growth into development into the full potential of what they're going to be. You cause them to violate the basic math of the human species. In other words, when you convince a child that 2 + 2 = 7, you convince them of that, and then they grow up to become an engineer, and they build a building based on 2 + 2 = 7.
Right.
That building will fall down around them and crush them.
Oof.
Yeah. It's math. The reality of the human species is like math. And when you divorce the children from that objective reality, there are consequences. There are physical consequences and psychological consequences. I hope that people who perhaps believe this ideology, or that perhaps their own child is in this confusion, to recognize that ultimately it is not doing children favors.
Right.
It is ultimately cooperating with over time, with a slow self-destruction, because you have endorsed the child to live the rest of their life in conflict, in
deception,
in unremitting internal conflict.
Yeah.
And if we could avoid that, that would be okay. I'll stop there,